सिया राम सिया राम, जय जय राम सिया राम।
चल सबको रिझाता चल, सबसे निभाता चल, सबको रिझाता चल, मिल जाएंगे राम।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Any questions? So, we were discussing the question of agitations. Am I agitated? Now, if you were to ask a person, are you agitated? And everything is going fine in his life. Okay, he's happy with everything. His answer to that question is no, I'm not agitated. I'm a happy person. Right? People will say, why are you going to Vedanta? Are you unhappy? Look at how happy we are. You do what I'm doing, you will also be happy. You must have heard all these things. Only Elsie is I can see today. Where is everybody else? Who's this Deep Raj? Okay, you can see Deep Raj. Oh, very good. Joyce, even you have gone invisible nowadays. You and your cat used to be easily viewable first. So, am I agitated?
Yeah, I apologize about that.
A big question, right? Am I
Yes, you
agitated?
cannot turn on my camera. No, I was about to. Just
Okay.
changing the location.
Okay, okay. So, am I agitated? Think of the time when you were most happy. How can you think you were agitated? You were happy. You think about the time you were agitated. Now you can say, okay, I was agitated. What Vedanta is saying is that when you claim to be happy, you are agitated. When you are saying, oh, this is it, this is life, I'm just so good with everything, you're agitated. When you claim to be agitated, what has happened?
Something disastrous, bad tragedy, something like that.
The agitations have gone up, right? When they recede to their original level, as we all know it, we claim to be happy. We will realize that what we are claiming to be happiness is not happiness when
We develop spiritually means we go below that.
we go below that level. And then you say, oh my God, I used to think that I was happy then. You must have experienced this, right? Suddenly you find that, oh, I used to think that I was happy, but no, not as happy. I was not as happy then as I understand happiness now. It's not like I was unhappy, but I understand happiness differently now. You all experience that. It's not like a unusual thing. People have experienced that. Yeah, right. Up to this point is clear. And let's continue. But however, we are blissfully ignorant. Okay, where should we start? Though enlightened masters have said we are all unhappy, we don't understand them and insist that we are quite happy. But desires and happiness cannot coexist. At least logically, we have to understand this. If you say, no, you are talking nonsense. I am happy, and how dare you tell me whether I am happy or not? How can you know whether I am happy or not? I know whether I'm happy or not. That's a valid point, right? Because how can we comment on anybody else's happiness? That's a valid point. However, here's a logical point by which you can understand that something is wrong. Can you say that you have desires? If your answer to that question is yes, I have desires, then you know happiness and desires cannot coexist. As long as there's a desire, one cannot be happy. You know this. So therefore, through logical postulation, we can understand that though I claim happiness, though I feel happiness, though I know no better state, that has to be a better state. However, we are blissfully ignorant. We don't know how much better we are heir to. We're ignorant of the fact that, my whole quality of life can be so very much better. We are blissfully ignorant about this. Because we don't know that we are agitated, we do not seek higher states. So, what is the consequence of not knowing? So, I don't know. So, what's wrong with that? I think I'm happy. So, what's your problem? I think I'm happy. And if to me I'm happy, then why should anyone else have a problem? The problem is that since we don't recognize this, we do not seek higher states. How can we want what we don't know? You all have all been struggling, right? Calling up people, telling them, come for marathon, come for retreat, do this, come to class. So many things we say to people. They just ignore us. Why do they ignore us? We don't know we are agitated, so we do not seek a higher state. How can we want what we don't know? Does the child want to become a teenager? Does the teenager want to become an adult? You cannot want what you don't know. Aspiration cannot exist in ignorance. See, in the town, in the cities, people want so many things. But in the small towns or in the villages, they don't want so many things. Why is that? Are human beings different in the city and different in the village? Why do city people want more things than village people want?
Villagers
They
don't
are aware
understand
of
the
it.
value.
Because they don't know these things exist.
Awareness.
You don't know it exists. How can they want it? For instance, a village person doesn't know that there is something maybe called rain showers. Right? So will he think I want a rain shower? He doesn't know there's something called a tub. And why will he say I want a tub? He doesn't know what the thing is. He doesn't know what a heated pool is. So he doesn't think I want a heated pool. If he wants to go swim, he'll jump in the river. He will not have nakra if I don't have a heated pool. Who will grumble about not having a heated pool? Those who are used to heated pools, isn't it? So the village people do not want what the town people want because they don't know that option
They
exists.
don't know the
Yes. Similarly, we do not want the higher state because
we don't know there is a higher state.
we don't know there is. How can we want it? Which confused person wants clarity? It is clear people who want more clarity. Which indisciplined person wants discipline? It is the disciplined people who want it, right? Which person without an intellect wants an intellect? That's why they say you need to have an intellect to know that you don't have one. I mean, how will you know? So you cannot aspire in ignorance. You need knowledge for aspirations. Aspiration cannot exist in ignorance. That's why knowledge is important. It informs us of facets not yet experienced. Like, for instance, you may have never gone to Switzerland, but you've seen that your friend has gone to Switzerland. And he tells you, oh, I went to Jungfrau and it was like this, and then there was the rotating lift, and now you want to go to Switzerland. Before that, you never thought anything about Switzerland. That's why knowledge is important. It informs us of facets not yet experienced. The tragedy is that we shun knowledge. We don't want that knowledge. We sadly abhor and distrust the unknown, all to our detriment. Every time, every step of the way, there is resistance. Come to class, resistance. Study in the morning, resistance. Do volunteer work, resistance. Be service oriented, resistance. Every step of the way, there is resistance. We sadly abhor and distrust the unknown, all to our detriment. This is natural, right? This is a natural thing. Whatever we do, we become very comfortable and we don't want to do anything better. So comfortable wherever we are. Now, you say, what's your problem if I'm comfortable? Do you want me to be uncomfortable? It's not that Vedanta wants us to be uncomfortable. It is that if you look back at people who are very uncomfortable, but do not seem to want to improve their state, you immediately realize
They don't know that they're uncomfortable.
what? If you see a person very in a very uncomfortable state, but not feeling uncomfortable. I mean, not feeling means he has no wish to get out of it. He's okay there. You immediately realize
Acclimatized.
He he doesn't know what comfort is.
you immediately
Like he cannot.
obviously you don't immediately realize. A philosopher said, in another man's fate, I weep my own. In another man's fate, I weep my own. Like that man is so uncomfortable and he doesn't know it. So too am I uncomfortable and I don't know it. Somebody who is higher than me will see my state. Nothing to say. What is there to say? So as soon as you see it outside, turn that vision inside. In another man's fate, I weep my own. Like that person cannot see this. I don't know what I cannot see. That is why they say having a guru is a very important thing, because the guru can see things you can't see. But when the guru tells you something which is not appealing, which is a no, I don't think that's correct, then you reject the guru only. So most gurus then keep quiet. They learn that after some point it's best not to say anything. What's the point, right? Anyway, no one's going to listen. So what's the point of saying anything? So at least if you have some awareness, a good step is to say that just as much as I see it in other people, that much is there in me, except I can't see it here. Suppose there's a very stubborn, very rigid person. Does he think he's stubborn and rigid? Now, all the troubles that he's facing in his life because he's stubborn, does he think like that? But just imagine that for whatever reason, he loses that stubborn streak. Just imagine how his life will be. Suddenly, he'll find everybody so accommodating, everything is going on so well. But nobody can tell him you are a stubborn fellow and that's why you are suffering. Imagine if somebody is lazy or is a nagger or something or the other, is totally indisciplined and is getting all the negative results, all the agitation, all the, mental slump. But it is all unknown to him. And if you can see it in him, then know that it is there in you, because it is there in all of us. It is just that we can't see it. Sad, no? Imagine being held back for no rhyme or reason. If there was some reason we are unhappy, I can understand. No rhyme or reason. I have some stupid trait. I recognize the trait. I remove the trait. My life is good. But no, I will not do it. More scary than sad. Yes, it's scary and sad and really very unfortunate more than anything else. Very unfortunate. This is the human state, unfortunately.
Janki-ji, so what is meant by if you can see it in others, you have it in yourself?
Means you can clearly see, right? Suppose somebody is being very lazy or very stubborn or very selfish or very whatever, stupid. You can see that. Array, you feel to yourself, if this person didn't have this Great, how much better their life will be. You can see that, right, in others.
Yes.
Now, when you can see that in another, through logic, you have to know that I also have something in me which other people probably can see and I can't see. And that whatever that thing is, it keeps me from my happiness. It keeps me from my growth. It keeps me from my progress. Because yatha pinda, tatha brahmanda. You remember the principle?
Yes.
So what is true for you is true for me.
So it may not be the same negativity,
yes.
but any other.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. May or may not. Could be anything. See, as you grow, you begin to see other people and their follies. But at what stage do you begin to see your own follies?
Thank you.
Watch the desires, how they breed. When we neglect the gaining of the knowledge of the higher, waves of thoughts envelope us. When we neglect the gaining of, what a complicated way of saying that when your thoughts are not on the higher, you get carried away in I don't know, in waves of thought. Do you experience that? When your thought is on something higher, nobler, the mind is very peaceful, and it is and you're in a flow, as it were. But when we don't keep our thoughts there, waves and waves of thought, all going all over the place. When we neglect the gaining of the knowledge of the higher, waves of thoughts envelope us. They create storms, tsunamis. Their telltale signature is that they leave tumultuous agitations in their wake. Telltale signature is that they leave tumultuous agitations in their wake. Yet, we heedlessly breed and multiply desires. Thoughts go everywhere but to the knowledge of the self. I hope your hair stand on end when you read things like this. We recognize when the agitation starts, we say, oh, something's wrong. But when the thoughts were initially going to things that they shouldn't have been going to, that time we're least bothered. We at that time were like enjoying ourselves. No, I didn't think of this. Like, I mean, anything, right? We are free to think of anything. In our head, what thought goes, who knows? But then suddenly there's tumultuous agitation, the tsunami, going on. Simple solution. What is the simple solution?
Plug the thought in the first instance. Don't let them breathe. Don't let the thoughts breathe.
That you can't do. That you have no control over. What do you have control over?
Pursue something higher.
Focusing on the higher.
Okay. Keep your thoughts on the higher. Just refuse to not, even when you have to do when you have to deal with things, you have to see it as a conduit to the higher. Right? You can't do it any other way. You do it any other way, you're a sitting duck. You're sitting on the beach of Japan. Aram se. And then suddenly you hear this noise. What is this noise? Oh, no, tsunami has come. You know what happens? Very peacefully you're going. You're not realizing you're sitting on that beach where that tsunami is approaching. Why did you go to that beach? Don't go to the beach. Meaning, you want to sit in that tamasic or rajasic state, and then the tsunami comes. अब कौन क्या कर सकता है? So watch the desire, how they breed. They will breed when
your thoughts are not on the higher.
When your thoughts shift from the higher, shown beautifully by the story of the Ramayana. As long as Sita's thoughts were on Rama, she was happy in the palace of Ayodhya. She was happy in the forest. But when her thought shifted from Rama to the golden deer, golden means very attractive. Deer means fast, fleeting. Meaning sense objects, basically, the lower. All her troubles in life started. She was kidnapped by the 10-headed monster. Who is this 10-headed monster? Our own 10 sense organs. He had kidnapped, and all your problems will start. Now, instead of understanding this, we will start a discussion. Is it possible that Ravana had 100 heads? There's no such thing. Baba, get the point of the story. Did Rama really go and fight Ravana? Please, the point of the story. This is not trying to tell you history. It's telling you philosophy. You know the word for history in you know what? Do you know what? Traditionally in our country, Ramayana and Mahabharata are known as the fill in the blanks. Ramayana and Mahabharata.
Itihasa.
Itihasa. Very good. They are the Itihasa. The word Itihas is translated into English as history. Not anyone can translate. But if you go to the word itself, Itihas, Iti you all know. Iti means thus. Has refers to it is or it was. There is a pun on that word. So itihas is not necessarily telling us only what happened in the past. It's telling us what is happening now. It's called itihas. So is it or so was it? Both are acceptable meanings of it. When you translate it as so was it, you translate it as history. When you translate it as so is it, you translate it as philosophy. So the reason they told us these things is not because they were trying to tell us what happened then. They're trying to tell us what's happening now to every human being. It's universally true. So when we remember where we took off from, remember Itihas?
Multiplication
Yeah,
of
the
desires.
When does that happen?
Sita's attention shifting from Rama to the sense objects. Hiran.
So when our thought moves from the higher to the lower, the trouble starts. Except we don't know that the trouble has started. We will know that the trouble has started when
The agitation starts.
When the agitation starts. So whenever the agitation starts, I have to check, Baba, now where did my thought go? Because if I'd caught it whenever it started going away from the higher, I would have been okay now, but I didn't. So now Bhuvatlo, Mr. Ravana has arrived on the scene. Now he's going to kidnap me. Now I will have to do tapas so that I will meet Rama again. Because when you get too agitated, you can't meet Rama again. You can't bring that thought back. So you have to do tapas. What is tapas? Discipline. Chalo bhai, shuru karo fir se. And I go up, it is like the myth of Sisyphus. You know myth. You know myth of Sisyphus, Joyce? Tell us.
Is he the one who is condemned to carry a rock up the hill endlessly, and then let it roll down, and then pick it up again and lift it up to the top of the hill?
Yeah.
Endlessly
Every
for all
day
time.
he pushes it up, reaches the top, and lets it go. So our Sisyphean activities continue our whole life. Thank you, Joyce. We push the rock up. We say, okay, I'm going to think of the higher. And somehow, I push the rock up. Then all my wonderful traits catch up with me and down again. And again, next day, I start again. This is what they call itihasa. Now, are we going to discuss whether Sisyphus existed or not? Or are we going to see in another man's fate, I weep my own? Okay, Mahesh.
Actually, there's a question on the group.
I'm sorry. Joyce, if we assume that we all want to be happy, even if we don't know what happiness is, can we say that it is a desire that we all have? So, how can we say that desires and happiness cannot coexist? Is it a paradox? Why, Joyce, paradox? If you have a desire to be happy, the implication is you're not happy.
But it is there. I mean, yes, it is. It means that they don't coexist.
Yes.
Otherwise, yes, it means that we are not happy, but the desire is there.
So whenever the desire is there, you're not happy.
So happiness has to occur without the desire for happiness.
Any desire. As long as you have a desire, you can't be happy. It's like, as long as you want to go to sleep, it means you're not asleep. Because if you're asleep, there is no desire to sleep. So just as to sleep, you must not have a desire to sleep. Suppose I want to sleep, you never sleep. Right?
Yes. That's the worst way.
Yes, that's the worst way. You get more and more agitated and you sleep less and less. The same thing with happiness. All the desire has to subside. And what you are left with is happiness.
So, Janki ji,
One second, Nilofer, let's just
sorry.
Okay, Joyce, you're good?
Yes, I'm trying to just let it sink in because I cannot really understand how happiness exists, but there is no prerequisite for us wanting it to exist. There should be no prerequisite or desire for us for happiness to exist. It should just exist.
No, there is a prerequisite that you don't have a desire. That's the prerequisite.
Yes, the desire should not be the prerequisite. All right, yes.
The prerequisite is no desire. That's the
no desire.
Yes.
It's a bit hard to. I mean, the logic of it is a bit hard to.
No, you just stop for a minute and think. Oh, iPad, who are you? You are not muted and you are not even paying attention to class. Who are you, iPad? When you eat a chocolate, when you want to eat a chocolate, you are agitated. You go all over the house trying to find a chocolate to eat. You eat a chocolate, then what happens to the desire? The desire subsides. How do you know the desire has subsided? You don't want now more. Well, you finished with eating the chocolate, whatever it is. If you're not finished with it, the agitation is still there. You still want more chocolate. So you're not going to be calm and satisfied and fulfilled, right? So as long as the desire is there for the chocolate, you're agitated. Once you
Yes.
eat the chocolate and the desire goes away, then you're happy. But if the
But there
desire
was a desire that made me go get the chocolate.
that's right. But where the desire made you, the desire moved your body
Yes.
and to do whatever it needs to do to fulfill that desire and come back to the state that you were in before this desire started.
Okay. It's how to do that in practice that I cannot really understand. I mean, about happiness, like how to go back to a state where we are not seeking happiness, we're not desiring happiness.
No, you can't do that.
Ah,
You do that.
okay.
This is just the philosophical understanding of the process, what happened.
Yes, makes sense.
That's all you're doing. Now, so then you have to figure out the solution. You can't say, okay, now I'm going to just wish I don't have desires. Then you will get more agitated because you created one more desire.
Exactly.
So that can't work. So
It
solution,
doesn't work.
So solution will work on, will come to, but at least understand what is the mechanism. What's my mind going through? That's all you're doing currently.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, Nilofer.
So Janki ji, now you have a desire to start a university, but that desire is not making you unhappy.
How do you know that? But it's the difference between a desire and a goal is that a desire which is directed by your intellect is a goal. When the desire is directed by the intellect, it becomes a goal. It won't agitate you. It is no longer called a desire.
Okay.
So a desire is when the thought is in the mind. And a goal is when the thought is in the intellect. Now, whether a particular thing makes a person happy or doesn't make the person happy depends on where that desire is placed. So we from outside can never tell.
Thank you, Janki ji. Correct.
Anvesh, I'm wondering if there is another issue where one issue is desire and the other problem is something or someone blocking some desire which we are not aware of. For example, a colleague who seems irritated, but the real reason is competition for promotion. It's the same thing, whether you have a desire. When you say I have a desire, what does that mean, I have a desire? That means I want something I don't have. That is the bottom line, right? That I don't have something and I want that thing. So in both cases, it's the same. If someone is blocking you, that means you don't have it. If you have a desire also, it means you don't have it. So it's the same thing.
But I mean, the thing that I was thinking is that we are not aware that there's some sort of desire that is being blocked, and we just find something irritating. So we have to trace it back to what is that desire. Is that how to grasp it? Because at that point, it'll feel like this is happening or this person is this way, and we don't know why it's agitating us, right? So does that make sense?
Right. You'll have to find out what the desire is. It could be a competition for promotion. It could be a clash of personalities. Like suppose you are a person who likes everybody to be polite, and the person is not polite. Then you get irritated with that person because he's interrupting a desire. Or you like people who are frank, but he's not frank. Or you like people who are tactful, but he is frank. So it could be any desire. It doesn't have to be a desire for something in particular. It could be intangibles also.
And one other doubt that came to me was that if you just want to bring down agitations, then just try to be blank. Don't think about anything. But you said the higher, right? And the higher is hard to define. So is can we get away with doing something like that and just, just be blank?
No, then you'll have to put yourself into coma. But then after the coma, one day you'll wake up and then you'll be back to square one. So that's not going to help. Higher is not difficult to define. It's very easy to define. You come to Vedanta, everything is defined over here. So what is the higher? The higher is a comparative term. Higher refers to more unselfish. More unselfish than what I currently am. As long as my attention is on my body, mind, intellect, this is called selfish. When my attention changes, comes to your body, mind, intellect, it becomes unselfish. Now, suppose there's a teacher who teaches because they're going to make a lot of money and become very famous and all that. So you can clearly understand the selfish activity. Then there are teachers who are very seriously dedicated to their students. They want their students to do very well. So now you understand this is an unselfish activity. Now, the same teacher may want their students to do very well as it is. That's how they are. For them, now that becomes selfish. For them to become unselfish, they have to expand their vision beyond their students. Right? So unselfish is from where I am, I'm taking the next step up. So let's say Gandhi is the kind of person who cares for his country a lot. Okay, he just does. He's completely dedicated to the country. It will become selfish for him if he keeps doing that. He will have to now think of something wider, like maybe Asia, for instance. I'm just making this up. So anything that takes his attention to more than his country will be higher for him.
I mean, this is a doubt that's been slightly unrelated to this discussion, but as you mentioned it, sometimes I feel like when we talk about being unselfish, it becomes like you get scared that you might appear foolish to other people when you start doing something charitable or something, noble. And it's really true that a lot of people are not doing the right thing, or it's very competitive, or it's very, anywhere else. So that is one thing that is a blocker for me sometimes, is that how to still appear like a serious person and not be taken like, somebody who's just I guess idealistic and not like practical.
Keep your views to yourself. Why should you, whatever you're doing, why should you go and tell anyone you're doing it? Keep your views to yourself. When you find somebody who's a compatriot, you can share your views with that person. Otherwise, if you're a vegetarian in a non-veg group, then they will say, oh, ye घास-फूस wale log hai. Well, it's okay, fine. Yeah, hum log घास-फूस wale log hai. So you don't have to go and express yourself overly to people. Okay, and you also don't have to imitate them. Because remember, do not take advice from someone whose life you don't want. If that doesn't look like the kind of life you would like to, you want that life, then take that advice. If you don't want that life, don't take that advice. Because all advice is good, is pertinent towards something. But what is that something you want? You will have to determine which one you're going to take.
Thank you.
The seed of desire yields a harvest of negative emotions. Okay, so let's start our process. First, if our thoughts are not on the higher, then this tsunami starts. That's where we are. So when it's not on the higher, means you're saying, okay, I want this, I want that, I'll do this, I won't do this. This is my interest, this is not my interest. All about me, 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 me. So the seed of desire yields a harvest of negative emotions. These create an overgrowth of mental darkness. Think of it as a real example, right? So much is grown. When you're in a place where there's a lot of growth, dense growth of many trees and all, what do you experience? Dense growth of trees. Suppose you go into the Amazon, where there's a very dense cover of trees. What will you experience?
Darkness.
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 Darkness. So when these negative emotions dense overgrowth, the harvest is huge. They create an overgrowth of mental darkness. That means you can't see anything anymore. Nothing makes sense anymore. Emotions like anger, jealousy, greed, arrogance, etc. create a dangerous, dense jungle difficult to navigate. We then abuse or cheat or get stressed against our will. Against our will means we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be abusive. We don't want to talk bad. We don't want to be cheaters. We don't want to be all stressed and agitated. But we are. It's against our will. We don't want these things. We don't want these negatives. But we are. Our behavior deteriorates. The lurking desires drive us, often without our awareness. We don't even know what's going on. Desires are shapeshifters. You know what is a shapeshifter? Those who can change their form at will. You know, in the stories and all, you'll hear all the demons. They can all change their form whenever they want. They're shapeshifters. They come disguised, unidentifiable. Our desires come to us disguised. We can't identify them. The original desire can exhibit itself in varied and often distorted or grotesque forms. This is an important thing to understand, that our desires don't always come as they are. They can be distorted. The form can be grotesque. Most of the world mythology depicts the hero on his great conquest, impeded by monsters. Oh, you say Rama goes and all the Rakshasas will come. Or if you see anyone, any of the great epics of all over the world, the hero goes to do something and then he finds all these monsters on the way. Who was that lady with her hair like that? Remember in Greek?
Medusa.
Medusa, correct. Medusa. And all sorts of horrible monsters they meet on the way. Correct. So then what was that when Oedipus goes on the journey and he hears the songs of the siren. All sorts of monsters they meet, right? And the Cyclops and this and that, all these horrible monsters come along. So too is our life journey impeded by the desires lurking in different and often monstrous shapes and forms. The frequently grotesque forms of the prowling desires are. So what are these forms that this desire you have? Okay, so what's our chain of thought, given taking all the poetry away, is there is the thought of the higher. As long as you're there, you're in a happy state. Then your thought moves from there. Then what happens? Lots of thoughts multiply. The nature of the thoughts of the lower is that there's multiplicity of thoughts. It's all going like a bee, you know. The thoughts are multiplying. No, not only are they multiplying with the original desire, they're now becoming shapeshifters. Different things are going to happen. And the first thing that happens, not the first thing, one of the things that happens is you start feeling angry. Just get angry. Okay, so this is how you're identifying where the desires are there. The first way to identify is anger. When there's anger, there's a desire. We want something. When someone or something interrupts our desire to acquire it, we experience anger. You want something, somebody blocks it, prevents it, impedes it. Anger. Our thoughts get deflected from what we want to what is interfering with the acquisition. Okay, so originally what were you thinking or what you want? Now what are you thinking? You're not thinking of what you want. You're thinking of that which is impeding it. Not getting what we want throws us into a rage. Refuse a child a toy and see the tantrum. We experience so much anger, yet don't cognize the underlying desire. We miss the fact that anger is only the thought deflected from our original desire, and thus our attempts to control anger are futile. We try to control the effect and not the cause. See why it's so difficult to control anger is because
We try to deal with the anger and not the source of the anger.
we are trying to deal with the effect, not the cause. We're trying to control an effect. How can you control the effect? You have to go control the cause. So the first shape shifter of the desire which we have is anger. Right? So now you're experiencing anger. You don't know what you want, you don't know anything. You know you're experiencing anger. That you can, yes, you understand you're angry. But now that original desire is coming as something else. There's another way it comes. So how desire becomes anger is clear, right? You want something, something comes in the way. All right. So you want to answer all the questions in class, but then Anvesh answered the question, and then you got very irritated that, oh, and next time if he gets something wrong, he said, बड़ा दिखा रहा था, अब ये आ गया ऊंट पहाड़ के नीचे. Sorry, Joyce. This is the way we talk over here. There's, no, you were showing off quite a lot. Now the camel has come. How do you translate this? The camel has come under the mountain. No, near the mountain. There's a saying in Hindi that you think the camel thinks it's very great until it meets the mountain. So when we think that somebody is showing off has finally been cut to size, we say the camel has come not under, literally translated under, but the camel has come near the mountain. So we are always saying, turn up your nose. See? He thought he was very smart. Okay. Now this is shape shifting. We are not identifying what is the desire. We are identifying all this stuff. Then we get very guilty. No, I shouldn't talk like that about it. It's okay. Each one has his own way. All sorts of things we'll do. So we don't trace it back. How did my mind move from what I should be doing to these lower thoughts? I didn't know. Now I'm to face all these things. So this is the shape shift. Right? Clear so far? कुछ तो बोलो, give a thumbs up. कुछ तो बोलो.
Yes, clear.
So another form that it takes, this desire, is greed. Thank you. Another form is greed. When we get what we want, if the desire is fulfilled, we want more, and that's called greed. It can start us off on an endless chase, a journey with no end in sight, and agitations as the only companion. This is well portrayed by Leo Tolstoy in his famous story, How Much Land Does a Man Need? If you ever had a chance to read the original, please do read it. It's a very nice story by Leo Tolstoy. How much land does a man need? Tolstoy depicts the devil making a pact with a farmer. The farmer is promised as much land as he can run in one day. So the devil tells it's a long story, but this is the crux of it, that the devil makes a deal with a man. He says, of course, he does many things. They become friends and all. It goes on quite a bit. And then we come to this incident, which is he makes a deal with them. He says, as much land as you will run from sunrise to sunset, all that land is yours. The land he can cover in a day's run will be his. The only condition the devil places is that the farmer must return before sunset. The man, overjoyed with his good fate, begins his run at sunrise. As he runs, he gets a glimpse of superior land ahead. So he tries to get that too. Soon it is half time, it is noon. The sun is overhead and it's time to return. But he sees better and better land and strives to include it in his run. So the more he runs, and he sees better and better. But it's now noon, right? He has to come back. Because unless he comes back, he gets zero. If he doesn't come back in time, he gets zero. Until he simply has to turn back or he risks losing it all. As he's delayed, he makes a desperate attempt to reach the starting point before sunset. He puts his all into it. With superhuman effort, as the sun is almost gone, he manages to get within a few feet of the starting line. He falls, his fingers cross the line, and he has won in a nail-biting finish. But this excessive effort is more than his body can endure. It is his lifeless body that lies on the finish line, and the devil grabs his everlasting soul. The mourning family and friends sorrowfully dig a grave. It is 6 feet. That is all the land a person requires. And for that, the devil gathered his soul, and he will suffer eternal damnation. The devil represents desire. It stands between us and the eternal bliss of heaven. So another shapeshifter is this greed, just wanting more and more and more without stopping to consider whether this is, what you're going to get by getting more of it. No discrimination applied whatsoever. Just more. What do you want? More. Do you want another promotion? Yes. Do you want more money? Yes. Do you want one more car? Yes. Do you want one more house? Yes. The thing is, there's no problem with that. It's not like we have to restrict in some way. There is no problem in having 25 houses, but please understand that if you have 25 houses, you have to look after 25 houses. No, but I will have housekeepers in each. Okay, great. And you have to look after 25 housekeepers. Whatever your solutions are, you have to understand its repercussions, right? So the concept of greed is the concept that you just want more, not willing to think about this, just want more. And then what's the end of it? You're dead. What are you going to do with all these things you've collected? How much land does a man need? 6 feet. So are we suggesting from now only you live in 6 feet? That's not what we're suggesting. That's not the point. The point is how the desire makes you run till you are dead. Deep Raj, I read this in high school as part of our syllabus. But at that time, none of us realized that this is a story about all of us. Neither did the teacher point it out. Yes, did she realize it was about us? This is our problem with, teaching kids. We want this knowledge to go to all the kids. Everybody wants it. The NEP says it should be there. Who is to teach is the big question. We have to create the teachers. So yeah, the teacher didn't point it out because and then realize that, oh, this is talking about us. I mean, we've all studied Ramayana, we've all studied Mahabharata. When did it occur to us that this is about my and me? Right? All the myths of Greek or Indian, all over the place. All these great masters have been constantly communicating this knowledge. We don't get it. Nobody gets it. There's a big fight on does the devil exist or not. That is what we will get involved. Oh, he just writes fairy story. There's no such thing as a devil. You forget whether there is a devil or not. Understand what the point is. So yeah, that is a tragedy. But if few of us get our sights right, we'll get this whole place straightened out. But let us get our sights right. Okay, so that's it for today. Yes, Joyce, it's a great example of what's happening more and more and more. I have so much land, I want more land. What should I do with it? It was someone else's. It will be someone else's tomorrow. In Vairagya Shatakam, so sweetly he says that everything you have asked for is all jhuta. Somebody has enjoyed this well. Jhuta means enjoyed and discarded by another. So it's jhuta. It is. All the wealth is jhuta, right? Somebody has used it and discarded it. The land has been enjoyed by somebody and now you're going to enjoy it. Everything is like that. Yes, Taruna?
Janki, you said you have to understand how your desires make you run till you die. Yes, you can see that, but there's so much compulsion and you're helplessly acting it out. So, what to do in that case?
You have to introduce the higher, like the Arab and the camel. You know how the Arab and the camel were? You know the story, na? That it was a cold night and the Arab put up his tent and his camel told him, it's so cold outside, let me put my head in. So the Arab said, okay, fine, you put your head in. And in the morning, the camel was in and the Arab was out. You know this story, right? So that's what we do. We allow the thought of the higher in and let it come in. By the time morning comes, darkness is gone, camel is in, Arab is out.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
So do we have any announcements?